Design Matters, I'll just let you introduce yourself.
All right, that'll work.
I'll bring you.
Okay, cool. Well, now that I'm all hyped up on cream, sugar, and coffee, I'll try to suffer through this and try not to bore you too much. And I'll ask your forgiveness on the front end because I'm kind of suffering a little bit from allergies, so I have to clear my throat a little bit every once in a while. But I am Bryan Pistole. I'm the owner of Design Matters, and most of you here at 1 Million Cups know me as the video guy. And yes, video is a big part of what I do, but it's not all that I do. Matter of fact, it's one of the smallest portions that I do. I appreciated Mike asking me to speak, and been talking to Jordan about it for quite a while, and was glad that I was finally able to get it worked into the schedule for me to do so. But yeah, Mike was asking me, do you have a presentation or anything? I was like, no, we can just pull up my website, that's fine. He said, well, that's kind of ironic considering what you do. And I was like, I know, it's Mike or Eric with WebJive, one of my partners. He and I tease each other all the time about being cobblers because that's kind of what we are. We're creative cobblers, and being a cobbler, the old saying with the cobbler's shoes, you don't have all the time to work on your own material. It wasn't until recently that I was redesigning my website, and it was down for quite a while because I was working on everybody else's stuff. But a little bit more about me, what I do. Yes, I do video, but I also do web design, work with Eric on a lot of that. And I'm big into print design, which if you look at all the tables, that's why the magazine Talk Business is on your table, because that is one of the projects that I work on. I design that magazine. And I am an Arkansas startup, Little Rock startup, but I'm not a recent startup. I've been in business now for a little over 10 years. I have been an S-Corp, a partnership, an LLC, been in and out of different things, and I can say I've learned a lot of what not to do. But still here, alive and kicking, and still growing, and very grateful for that. I've got a great group of clients. I'm now in my 23rd year of my career and have learned a lot. And what I can say has impacted me the most is working in this community. Little Rock is a very strong creative community, and just a overwhelming great group of professionals. I'm humbled to work among them because I feel like I provide a good service to my clients, but when it comes to working with a lot of the creative people in this community, I'm humbled by their just overwhelming amount of creativity, and I've learned a lot from them, and I'm very appreciative of that and never want to take that for granted. I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of people and being able to build my business off of that, because I haven't advertised any. My business has grown solely by referral, and to me that's spoke a lot. That's said everything that I needed it to for me. I've tossed around the ideas of advertising, but I just haven't needed to so far. So, knock on wood, I'm very blessed as far as that goes. But again, don't want to bore you. I kind of wanted to keep it like the bucket of cream back there, short and sweet. So that's me in a nutshell in my company. But I'll open it up for questions now. So.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. So, anybody got any questions out there? Oh, we got one from the man.
Figured he'd be the first one.
Eric Caldwell with WebJive. When you first started, what were some of your biggest challenges to overcome from a startup perspective when you had to think about yourself from getting out there and how you did it and how you accomplished it and where it's led you to now?
Well, I kind of started this whole thing feet to the fire. I had tossed around the ideas, what would it be like to own my own company and be out on my own, for years. But I had been moonlighting. I started off at a ad agency. I was art director for an ad agency here in town for a number of years. Then I worked in corporate America for a couple of Fortune 500 companies and worked my way up with them, met people all over the board with all them, and in the process of that, they would introduce me to people outside of business that were like, you really should talk to these people. They're needing help with some design projects. They need an artist. So I would go and meet with them. So I started freelancing on the side, 15, 20 years ago, and was doing that a little bit in the evenings and on the weekends. And my employer at the time, about 11 years ago, came to me and they're like, we love what you do, but we're going to move your position to another state. So if you want to keep your job, that's great, but you're going to have to move. And I went and visited with them and just decided it just wasn't for me. I love this community. I wanted to stay here. My kids at the time were right in the middle of junior high. I didn't want to move them from their schools. So I made the decision, I'm going to try to make a go of this. So I went and visited with those clients, my freelance clients. I'm like, I'm thinking about opening my own business, and not real sure it's got legs, but was just curious what you thought of that. And a lot of them said, we've been waiting on you to go out on your own for a long time because we've got tons of business that we could send your way, but we knew you had another job. So if you would go out on your own, we could send you more work. So that kind of helped me make that decision immediately, and ran it by my wife, and she's like, I thought that you should have done that years ago, so it's great. I was kind of shocked. I didn't realize that was going to be her response, so I went out and did it, and so far it's been great. I've been through the typical peaks and valleys, especially in the early years where you'll have some months that are incredibly busy and some months the phone's not ringing at all. So I just kept plugging away, and biggest challenge was learning how to work through those peaks and valleys. You didn't want to, oh man, I'm going to be rich. All this money started rolling in, then you realize a couple of months go by and you didn't get another check or something like that. So you have to make that all stretch out, and it all evened out. So that was some of the early on challenges.
Bryan, do you also do apps?
Apps. Well, that's a good question. Yes and no. I have always been real big on trying to help be a one-source shop. I want everyone to come to me to help provide a service to them, but I'm also very, very much upfront with everyone. That's not 100% what I do, but I have a team of professionals that I work with. I've got a lot of connections, and I will get you in touch with the right people. Now, I may have done the design on some of it, but I didn't do the legwork. Just like Eric Caldwell with WebJive. He is a web partner because I'm not a web hosting company, don't want to be. I'm not, I know how to do a little bit of coding, but I don't want to be coding all the time, like with apps. There's many, many professionals that are very talented that know all that stuff backwards and frontwards, just like I can design stuff. So I will help do the designs and get with them and work with them, and I can be your point of contact and get you in touch with them, and we can work that way. But yes, that's how I do that. It's the same thing with like photography. I do some photography, but there's some things people come to me and they're like, here's what I want shot. Like, oh, you need somebody else with a different skill set. So, but I appreciate that question.
I've got a question for you. You stepped into what is a fairly competitive industry when you started out, and really food and ice cream's the same way. What would be your advice to that person who's thinking about starting out in an industry where there's already some established people there?
Also a good question. I could not imagine having started this out fresh out of school. I had thoughts of it, but, when you're starting off fresh, you don't know anybody. You've got your contacts through family or friends or, other college students that you were in school with, or church friends or whatever. But that pool could run dry pretty quickly. So my suggestion is, I'm very fortunate that I went through the process of, when I was at the advertising agency, when I started there, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Flat out honest, my degree's in advertising. I at one point thought I was going to go in sales, and I hate being in front of people. So that wasn't going to work out very well. I was trying to figure out today how I could do this presentation behind the camera. So it didn't work out. But I recommend that people get a job working for someone, at least for a little while, so they can get behind that let them learn a few things, let them try a few things. They may find out they hate something and work their way into something else. They can also meet a lot of people. I mean, I learned a ton from, there are so many mentors I have in this community, and I love them all to death. I still follow everything they do because they're so talented, and I was able to work underneath them, and I appreciated that so much. And that gave me the courage to attempt this. So that's what I recommend.
One more question for you, and I think you're being kind of modest with this magazine. If you haven't read, Talk Business, this is a gorgeous magazine. I mean, produced in Little Rock, Arkansas. It's really, really nice. Could you describe a little bit of how the heck you do this and how long this takes? And I mean,
well,
really good.
We're now 100 pages. I started off with Roby Brock. Many years ago, I had the fortune of, when I was starting out the company, got involved with him actually on the video side. I was helping shoot his TV show because he was producing it himself, and we would go and shoot at different locations. We actually shot in some corporate boardrooms around town, and we would have like a 4-camera shoot. We shot up at the Capitol some in the old Supreme Court chamber, which pretty cool. You bring in a dolly, and we're all shooting this show, and then it all gets edited together. And back then he was doing it all himself, and I was part of the freelance crew that was helping him. So we got in a conversation. He's like, "Oh, you're a graphic designer too. Well, I've got this idea. I'm actually working on this magazine. I need you to start working on it for me." Back then it was called Talk Business Quarterly. We were doing it 4 times a year, and I took that over and started doing that. And what it is now, we're now called Talk Business and Politics, and it's it's about a month to month and a half process to get one of these out, because there's a team of writers that are all working. I'm kind of consulting with them all along the way. We're bringing in art. They're shooting photos. Glennacook was one of the stories in one of the last magazines that we had, and they'll have someone come and interview a person. They'll take some photos, or they'll collect photos from the people. I've actually gone on some of the shoots with some of our photographers to start gathering that stuff, and I just kind of keep it all in a pile and just kind of start organizing it. We also have a good team that's helping with the editing and helping. They worked on other publications around town. Bill Paddock is great. He's been working with me nonstop, and he'll send me little things, show me some things that he's seen in other publications that he's been impressed with. And we're very much just trying to make sure we have an identity and it's unique. And Roby and his team, he's always on top of the latest news, and I feel very fortunate to be in the position I am. But it's about, when I start the design of it, it's about a full 2-week process round the clock, because it's just me. I don't have a team of designers. That's one of the things I'm concerned about, is just the legs of my company, where I go, because it's, when it comes to some things, I do get very involved with it, and I'm kind of hard to let go of certain things. I want to make sure I'm doing it all myself, so I guess it could be a weakness as well, but I appreciate that.
how do you go about evaluating the effectiveness of your advertising? In other words, how do you know what your advertising is contributing to the business? And what aspect of your advertising is contributing most to the business?
Okay. That's a good question. I've got a couple of local clients that they actually advertise in the magazine, but they have several marketing campaigns, both online, print. They haven't started any kind of TV. They're not in that kind of market, but what they're doing is they're trying unique URLs, like with a landing page, to track some of that stuff. Some of the direct mail they're doing, it's targeted to an individual at a company so that they can track whether or not they're seeing this. They may offer an incentive for them to try their product or service out, and once they do, they can track it that way because they end up contacting the sales team. One of my other clients was also a college friend. He had a local coffee shop, and we built the whole. He was very much into social media at the time, and kind of got me heavily involved with it several years ago. And we grew his business by social media. It all grew by Facebook. It's when you've got a retail storefront, you pretty much got to live by whatever the curve is that everyone's doing. And at the time, he just bought a coffee shop. It was in a good location, but I had designed his logo and designed all of his store materials and all that kind of stuff. But he was doing some wholesale, and we built a website for him. But the way it grew was social media. And once people started getting on Facebook and seeing that and following him on Twitter and hearing the different things he was sharing, and we kind of set that up strategically, it just went like wildfire, very much grassroots kind of thing, because people were talking among themselves, and that's how he was able to manage it. And we started running promotions on Facebook, come in for $5 lunch today, get a free cup of coffee if you see this or like this or whatever. And he was able to manage all that by that, and definitely saw the growth. And he sold the coffee shop. I mean, it grew that big, so we consider that a success. Oh, it was. They want to know which one it was. It was Guillermo's.
Thank you so much again. As we ended up, as always, what can we do for you as a community?
Well, I guess I actually have two things. The first one is being a startup that's now in the 10th year, kind of over a different hump. I would love to meet with someone that is kind of, it doesn't have to be my exact business, but someone that's in the same realm, has been established, and maybe they were a sole proprietor and they figured out the next leap. Do you hire someone? Do you merge? Do you become something different? What do you do next? Because I'm always concerned what my next evolution is, what I'm going to become or what I'm going to do. And the other thing is just I'd love to, Eric and I have been in an ongoing conversation about being a LLC versus S Corp from a tax standpoint and that kind of thing. I'm constantly, do I change? Do I stay? What are the pros and cons? I've kind of been consulting with my current accountant, and I'd just love some feedback on some of that. So.
All right. We'll see what we can do. So give it up for Bryan. Thank you so much. So.